No, it doesn't look like. Well, maybe. Oh, yeah. No, I am. Okay, perfect. Good morning. This is the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. It is Saturday, the 18th of October, and I guess it's been a few days. I think the last time that I connected was on Tuesday, maybe this past week, and we're gonna make this more regular. So for right now, this is kind of what it is. Um, just to connect and let you know what's going on. We recorded a couple episodes in one recording with Donald Brock and Leroy Green. The first episode of that came out this past Monday. The next episode comes out this coming Monday, where Donald Brock Jr., who is the head of the Soda City Comic Con, as well as the Coastal Comic Con in Wilmington and the Boardwalk Comic Con in Myrtle Beach. Those respectively are coming up next year. Coastal Comic Con will be in March, the first weekend in March in 2025. And then the Myrtle Beach Comic Con will be, Boardwalk Comic Con will be in October of 2025. And of course, Soda City Comic Con will be in August. So we'll have 3 Comic Cons next year that the All About Nothing podcast, Zach and I will be at. It's going to be a really good time. We look forward to it as well. So that second episode drops on Monday. Following that, we have a brand new episode that we recorded with Matt Villardo, who is, of course, the Democratic nominee for South Carolina House District 26 in Fort Mill, South Carolina. The good conversation. We had a really enjoyable time. He gave me a coin, which I don't remember what to describe it as, but this is really cool. I thought this was really cool. It's a coin with his candidate logo on it, and just says thank you on the back. So I wanted to shout out Matt Villardo again for that. It's really kind gesture, and I certainly appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to work on his campaign because I think that his campaign definitely has the opportunity to win this election, and I think Fort Mill, South Carolina, would benefit from not only Matt's experience in troubleshooting and working with different teams on different functions of what he is as far as project manager and an engineer and things like that, that his background gives a lot of the experience that he has will benefit the people of Fort Mill, because not only is he just very loud, but he's very intelligent, and he is compassionate in his approach to how he tries to relay the message, and the message is to strengthen the Fort Mill community, regardless of your politics. His intention is to make Fort Mill better in the state of South Carolina, and thusly make South Carolina better in the nation, because South Carolina, I posted this morning on my Facebook that South Carolina suffers from decades of poor leadership by the GOP here, and it's necessary for that to change, because South Carolina continues to fall lower and lower in the standings across the country. Education, infrastructure, these are things that we see every single day, and for the Republican Party that has been in control of South Carolina this entire time, it is so a simple anecdote. I was asked earlier this week, why is it that they keep voting for South Carolina? Why do they keep voting for the Republicans when South Carolina continues to fall lower and lower in the standings on these measurable items? And I said, I think that for the most part, it's because most people in South Carolina that do go and vote, they see an R next to somebody's name and they say, well, that's the guy I'm going to vote for because I voted Republican my entire life. And that stigma has continued to hurt South Carolina, and there's really no way around it. That's exactly what's happened. So my suggestion is, rather than just voting based on the party, that what you really should be doing is voting based on the issues. And in this situation, the issues are infrastructure, they are healthcare, it's schools, it's public education, and ultimately it's dumbfounding to me that we still have people out there that look at those issues and see a candidate that says, I'm in support of public schools, but they are representing a party that is in the process of continuing to remove more and more public education funding and give it to voucher programs that will basically pay for students to go to for-profit schools. And it's not like they're just coming up with this money. It's not like they're budgeting for this money. Every time a student receives a voucher, or a voucher program, or the voucher opens up for a student to move to a private institution, or I call them profit institutions. Every time a student does that, it literally takes that money out of the public education system. So it's not like more money is being made available as students leave public education to go to for-profit education. They're taking that money away. And every single time it's a blow to that individual school and that school district and the state as a whole. And those are the things that need to be thought about. I think for the majority of us, we went to public education. We went to public schools. We are a representation of what the public education system can produce. And that's if the public education is fully backed by the state. I know my kids are homeschooled, and that is a personal choice, but I still pay my taxes that go to pay for public education, and I fully support public education. I always will. And because there's nothing that a student shouldn't be able to get at a public education that is being promised by a for-profit education system. It should not be the case. It should not be that there is an elitist program available to take care of students, because there's no regulation for these programs. I don't have an issue. I don't have any issue with religious teachings in public education. I don't. I know that sounds odd. It doesn't bother me, as long as it's going to be taught from a historical standpoint. That's not, I think that people, if they were to actually look at the entire issue, would probably have an issue with the fact that, they talk about indoctrination in schools because of the availability of certain books in student libraries, public education libraries. And, but they don't have any issue with some of the other things that potentially could be taught in an unregulated for-profit school. It's such hypocrisy to not look at the two issues equally. And so that's my standpoint. I did want to go into an article that I read on Politico this morning. Trump has apparently requested more security, this specifically a military plane. So Politico reported, I'm going to read the article a little bit. Donald Trump's campaign is asking the government to provide increased security for the candidate who faces unprecedented threats as the former president seeking to once again lead a bitterly divided nation. The opening of that article is I don't, my reaction initially to it is, bitterly divided nation has everything to do with Donald Trump, that his movement is what has really caused this divided nation. They go on to say the campaign is requesting the use of military aircraft for the candidate, as well as additional Secret Service protection for Trump following 2 apparent assassination attempts, and the revelation that Iran has targeted him for retribution for the killing, for the U.S. killing of one of their leaders back in January of 2020. And that's I don't disagree. I think that if a former president is being targeted, and I know some of the more left-leaning liberals that I know, family members alike, will say, good, Iran deserves to. No, I disagree. I think that sets a terrible precedent. I think that the presidents, despite the fact that I don't agree with them on policy or their character or whatever, I think that sets a terrible precedent. And Biden has already pledged that Trump will get every single thing that he needs to protect him and his campaign from the standpoint of the federal government. And I agree with that. I think that is the right thing to say, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think that Donald Trump dead is a martyr, and sometimes martyrs are more dangerous in the afterlife than they are in the current. And it's such a weird time. I think that another thing that I wanted to discuss was the polls, and one of the things that keeps coming to light is that Kamala Harris continues her support does not seem to be garnering, maybe the wrong word, but does not seem to be. She hadn't had a great week as far as the polls go, and I confess I don't trust any of the polls. I'm one of those people that looks at the polls and says, well, who are the type of people that answer their phones in the middle of the day from a telephone number that they don't recognize, or they answer a text message that they don't recognize the number, it's not in their phone, and they answer or they respond to these phone calls. And I don't see those as normal people. And those individuals that do answer those, I see them as being a little odd, and that's no. I don't mean that as an attempt to sound as though I am being negative towards them, but it's just sort of the reality. I don't answer phone calls that I don't recognize. I don't answer text messages that I don't recognize, even when they come in with the "Hey, can we get lunch today?" And I'm like, I don't know who this is, especially when they use the wrong name. When they call me Irene, yeah, I know it's not for me. But it's, I guess that's sort of my point, is that I don't trust the polls because I don't know who these people are that are being polled. And I guess I could say that about just about anything, but it's a fact. So when it comes to the polls, I think that there is a swell of support for Kamala Harris from both Democrats and Republicans. There are so many Republicans that are disenfranchised with what it is that Donald Trump represents and what it is, whether it's his character or his policies. They are disenfranchised, and I still believe that Kamala Harris will probably run away with this election and do better than I think that most people think that she would have. So that's my opinion. And it's based on nothing more than speculation about the same speculation that these pundits perform on television. So maybe it's hope. Maybe it's more. I do like to look at numbers, and if you take an average of the polls, Kamala Harris she is still up, and that bodes well for what will potentially happen in 24 days from now. So the last thing I will say, or the last couple of things I'll say, is if you're not registered to vote, in a lot of states, registration, especially here in the Southeast, registration has been extended so that you can go ahead and get registered, but that deadline's ending soon. So check your voter, check Google, go to Google, just Google, how can I register if you haven't yet? Also, you can go to our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com/voter, and you can actually go ahead and check your voter registration. I suggest that you do it soon because you definitely want to make sure that you know which precinct you need to vote at, because sometimes those change. You also want to make sure that your address is correct. That's very important when you go to the polls. You have to have your voter identification card, whether it's a driver's license. I don't think that they accept military ID anymore, but it has to be a state or federal issued ID with a picture on it is the preference. And I say preference, but it's a heavily stressed preference. You have to have at least a photo ID. And my suggestion is that you make sure that you have that. You have a couple more weeks before, if you're going to vote in person, to do that. Voter registration offices are open across the country Monday through Friday. Check for hours. You can Google that as well. But you definitely need to do that now, and then make sure you have a plan for voting. My suggestion is vote early. Just go ahead and vote early. As soon as the precincts are open, or as soon as the polling is available where you live, whatever state. I know here in South Carolina, it opens up on October 21st. I guarantee you, when that opens up at 8 a.m. on October 21st, I will be in line to vote, because I don't want to wait. I don't want to be somebody standing in a 3 or 4 hour line. And that's ultimately, I think, what's going to happen in a lot of cases, is that people are going to wind up standing in very long lines. So do it now. Do it as soon as you can. If you're mailing in your votes, fill it. If you're watching this right now, fill it out. Go ahead, fill it out, put the stamp on it, or if it doesn't require a stamp, great. But go ahead and put it in the mail, because they got to go out. I think that there is such an opportunity for the U.S. Postal Service to let us down, not because they have inept workers, because Louis DeJoy is still the Postmaster General, and he's a huge Trump supporter, and has already made maneuvers, especially in the state of Georgia, to sort of slow down the process. And I know somebody's going to say it's a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy until it's proven correct. But you can look at the evidence. You can see where there have been movements. There have been things that have been done to create sort of a backlog. So just be aware. My suggestion, again, vote in person, vote early. If you have to vote on election day, make a plan. Take water with you, because I know in the state of Georgia, nobody can walk up to you with a bottle of water without getting arrested. So, or that's the law. That is going to do it. We are going to record an episode today with Carl Smith, who is the organizer of a group called the Voter Education Project. You can look them up, votereducationproject.com. We do have a space on our Facebook where we've asked people if they have any questions about voter integrity, that sort of thing. They can certainly ask us. So we'll go to those questions during the interview. So Zach and I will be sitting down with Mr. Carl Smith of the Voter Education Project. That episode will come out right before the election. So thank you very much for watching. Again, we'll be doing this semi-randomly, I guess. But it's just basically to catch people up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the All About Nothing podcast, either where you listen to podcasts or here on YouTube. And we look forward to you seeing me soon. Thank you again.